Well, hello again, everybody. This is Campground Cemetery, which is right outside of Farmer City in central Illinois. So what brought this cemetery to my attention was driving by and seeing that it was actually called Campground Cemetery, which you might recall early in the spring. I have a video called Haunted Coles County No. 3 Campground Cemetery. Coles County also has a campground cemetery. This one is in DeWitt County. And the reason it was called Campground Cemetery was because people used to camp there to listen to the local preacher giving his Sunday sermons. So I did a little bit of digging on the internet to find out why this one's called Campground Cemetery. And it turns out it's the exact same reason. People used to come and camp here while they had meetings and frequently would listen to the local pastor preaching. Originally, this area was inhabited by the Kickapoo and Potawatomi Native American tribes, and it was first settled by European settler Dennis Hurley and his family in 1825. The original settlers, as I mentioned in the Clement Cemetery video, were drawn to groves of trees and forests to create their settlements rather than being stuck on the unforgiving open plains, and this was known as Hurley's Grove. Some interesting fun facts about Mr. Hurley is that he lost one of his hands in a gun accident shortly after settling here, and he had 12 children, 10 of whom survived the trip from Ohio, where he originally lived, to here in Illinois where they settled. And one of the other early pioneers in this area was Reverend Paxton Cumming. He was not only a preacher, but also a blacksmith, and the first person buried in the cemetery. So the reason I read all of those little fun facts off is because I'm going to look for some of their headstones. Here was Mary, wife of James Wood, died in 1886, age 29. And infant daughter, died December 15th, 1886. So she must have died in childbirth. Well, that's very sad. The baby died December 15th and she died the following day. Shall we walk around, Red? Let's walk around. Here's an older one. Hard to make out the names on that one. Yay, I just got one of my bingo squares for my made-up cemetery bingo game I like to play. It is interesting to look for how many of the older symbols on the graves I can find in one cemetery. Joe Mann. I wonder if those were family members. We've got these smaller stones almost completely sunk into the earth beside his bigger monument. Here is my second bingo slot for my made-up game, the open book. And here it looks like a dove carrying a piece of cloth flying through the parting drapes. It's a very elaborate stone for Margaret, wife of Joseph Irvin. Oh, ding ding ding, here's one of my favorites, the willow symbol on this person's grave that has almost completely fallen apart. You can hear a meadowlark singing. Thomas, son of can't quite make out the name, maybe Slick. Probably died as a child because there's the lamb on it. And here is another willow symbol, more intact. That's really cool. Can't really make out a lot of detail though. And the other good thing about cemeteries is that no matter where you live, if you're interested in the old headstones and trying to look for the local history on the graves, I mean, pretty much anywhere you live, you can find things to go explore. Right there in your own backyard, so to speak. And it is a little window into local history. My family's not from this area, so none of these people are in my personal ancestry. But it's still very interesting to look into the history of the area. Letitia, wife of John Weedman. And the Weedmans were some of the early settlers who came here. That name I do remember. Another note. And here is the grave of Dennis Hurley, the original settler of Hurley's Grove. Here's where he has been laid to rest. Died June 25th, 1862. And at the time, Hurley's Grove was a settlement, from what I read. There weren't really a lot of big towns in the early 1800s here in this area. Bloomington at that time, which is about 30 miles away, was a very small settlement called Blooming Grove. That's an interesting one. Oh, this is a different symbol. Another Weedman, Norman A. Weedman. Is that, looks like it might be a sword surrounded by a laurel wreath. That is a new one to add. I do believe we have found the cemetery guardian tree. Although this one, being out in the open, there's not a lot of contenders. But this does look like quite a large tree. It's probably been here for a while. Perhaps even since the beginning of the founding of the cemetery. That was Campground Cemetery. I was happy to find the tombstone of Mr. Hurley, since he was the original founder here when it was called Hurley's Grove. Other than that, there's really not that much. It's a small cemetery. It does have some interesting headstones if you like looking at old headstones. It's tucked away in this random corner of DeWitt County. Well, since we were in the area, I decided that my little buddy Dred and I would make one last stop, which is at this little place called the Salt Creek Wetland. It is a little restored wetland project along the Salt Creek. I first became aware of this site when I moved into the central Illinois area because it is a great spot for bird watching. I haven't been here in a little bit over a year, I think. So let's check it out. And as I mentioned earlier, how the groves were very important to the early settlers as well as water. So the Salt Creek and the groves both would have been important considerations in why people decided to settle right here around this location. I'm always interested to read early accounts of people traveling through Illinois because today humans have pretty much completely tamed and flattened the landscape. It's, at least this area, just one giant agricultural field. However, back in the past, I mean, there were the groves of forest, and other than that, I mean, it was just prairie grasses higher than a man on a horse could see over, and lots of insects really inclement weather. Hot and horrible in the summer, cold and nasty in the winter, kind of like it still is today, I think. And at least one early explorer to the area called it a green hell. We are at a hard choice option because normally this is a path. It looks like it has not been mowed at all recently, and I just know ticks. There are going to be ticks everywhere. I can see the wetland off in the distance. I could see some great blue herons flying up. It looks like also egrets, which, honest, I really want to go back there and see those birds so bad, but gotta think of Dread and myself not getting coated in ticks. And also it is just horribly humid. I don't know if you can tell the haze, the humidity haze in the air. It feels like it's pretty much liquid water here. So reluctantly, we're gonna head back. I would love to explore. I feel like since I've got back from Michigan about a month ago, I haven't really had any good nature experiences. I do love nature and being outside, but I'm not a summer person. This hot, humid weather really takes it out of me. So let's head on back, Dread. Well, that is all for now. It's kind of a random video. I am planning a couple of really interesting adventures, day trips, things that will hopefully take me a bit farther afield. So if that interests you, then please do stick around, see what might be coming up soon. And for now, I hope you did enjoy my little tour, and I hope to see you again for my next adventure. Bye for now. Ready to go, Dread? Yeah, you're totally ready to go. You don't like this hot weather either, do you, fella? Let's go.